So good evening. My name is Bethel Campbell, and I have the honor and the privilege to serve in the role as the city manager of the city of Asheville. We're pleased that you are here tonight because I know, considering the week before Christmas, there are lots of other places you could be and maybe even want to be, but I appreciate you choosing to be here tonight. And let's see, I think I have an elected official, Keith Young. You stand? Thank you so much for joining us. And I don't want to overlook anyone else, any other elected officials here?
Candidates.
Not a political forum. Okay, with that, we're gonna get started. We're gonna make elected. Okay. So before we get too far, we have interpreters, and they're gonna kind of talk to us about what they do.
Hola, muy buenas tardes a todos.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Somos Carolina y Rocío de la Cooperativa de Justicia del Lenguaje Sensonte, basada aquí en Asheville.
We are Carolina and Rocio from the Language Justice Co-op Sensonte based here in Asheville.
Y estamos aquí para interpretar la sesión de hoy del inglés al español y del español al inglés, y hay comentarios.
And we are here tonight to interpret the session from English to Spanish and Spanish to English and any commentary.
Hay unas cuantas señales que nos ayudan a nosotros como intérpretes para poder conllevar el mensaje mejor.
There are a couple signals that we use as interpreters to be able to effectively deliver the message.
Si alguien quiere hacer un comentario, entonces la señal para que si están hablando demasiado rápido y no podemos alcanzar el mensaje es esta, para que puedan hablar más despacio.
In the case like if you're giving feedback or speaking to the room and we do this, we're asking you to speak slower.
Si no les puedo escuchar porque están hablando demasiado bajito, vamos a hacer esto para que puedan levantar la voz.
If we can't hear you, we'll be using this signal to let you know that when you do speak up.
Y si hay algún comentario que se haga en español, lo vamos a interpretar consecutivamente.
Anything that is shared in Spanish will be interpreted consecutively, so we will be delivering the message directly after the person.
Y pues nada, muchísimas gracias a la ciudad de Asheville por darnos la oportunidad.
And there's really nothing else to add. Thank you so much, City of Asheville, for giving us the opportunity.
And thank you, Brenda, for reminding me. I apologize for that oversight. So again, thank you all for being here, and the purpose of this community forum is to introduce the three final candidates for the chief of police with the Asheville Police Department. So earlier this year, we went through a recruitment process. Most of the public involvement was on the front end. That is, we had public involvement to literally develop the job profile for this position. We went out, we had several meetings earlier this year, February, March, to talk about attributes, characteristics, skill sets, things that you wanted for your chief of police. We incorporated that input into the job profile. We recruited and hired Chris Bailey. And Mr. Bailey, due to some personal reasons, returned back to the Indianapolis and the Indianapolis Police Department. So due to some feedback that I got as it relates to the process that we went through to hire Chris Bailey, again, most of that public input on the front end, developing the job profile. I had a panel of people who participated with me, and we selected Chief Bailey. We're doing it a little differently. The one thing that you will never be able to accuse me of and that is not listening. I have a hard head, but I do listen. And what I heard was that you all wanted to be at least exposed. I want to make it clear, I will make the final decision as it relates to who we hire, but I will listen. I will read your comments, and by the way, we have a couple of things that I hope you picked up when you came in, which is the profiles of the candidates and a card for, if you choose, you can write comments, and I assure you, I will read the feedback. So Chief Bailey's last day on the job was September the 29th. During that process, I was working with PERC, who was our recruitment organization that recruited Chief Bailey. Was also talking with them on how do we have an interim. And Chief Bailey resigned, or his last day was on September the 29th, and on October the 1st, we were able to get Chief Robert White, who has been our interim chief since the early part of October. So if there's anybody really happy about us getting closer to a permanent position, it is, I'm sure, Chief White, but I'm sure he's having lots of fun. We also had a meet and greet for Chief White with the community and the media and police officers. So now we're to a point where we're about to make a final decision. Tonight's format is going to be, I'm going to introduce the three candidates. They're going to come out individually. They will introduce themselves. We will allow you an opportunity, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, to ask them questions. And what I would hope that you would do is ask a question so that we are able to get a lot of people who are interested to enable them to have questions. Again, we have three candidates. How have we gotten to this point? We've had a panel, again, that consisted of myself, of course, the fire chief, the sheriff, the deputy city attorney, PERC, who was our recruitment organization, special assistant to the city manager, the interim chief of police, and the DA. We brought in 9 candidates, and I cannot tell you how pleased I am at the quality of the candidates, those 9 candidates. So it was these 3 made it through a lot of scrutiny. So we started at 9, we're down to 3 that you will meet tonight. And so our first candidate, and let me just say, just in case people leave the room in terms of the next steps, after tonight, I'll take a lot of information. Last night, the 3 candidates met with police officers. They have input. We're going to take all of that input, peruse it, review it, discuss it back with the interview panel, and then I'll be making a decision hopefully by early January with a start date for the candidate late January, early February. And so without any further ado, I want to again thank you all for coming, and also ask you to join me in welcoming our first candidate, James Nolet.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm not a podium kind of guy. I'm a wanderer, so I'm going to apologize. As you can tell from my accent, I'm born and raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's a joke, people. I'm actually born and raised in Providence, Rhode Island. I left there 4 years, spent in the military, stayed in Fayetteville. Both my parents are cops. Both my dad was a 36-year veteran of the Providence Police Department. My mom was a 28-year veteran of the Providence Police Department. I didn't want to go home and be in the family business, so I stayed in Fayetteville, North Carolina, made a name for myself there. 21 years later, here I stand before you. praying and hoping to be your next chief of police. I'm not perfect. If you're looking for a savior to come in and save the day, that's not me. I will tell you honestly, I'm a hard worker. I love what I do. I have a passion for police work. But it's not just police work. I have a passion for people. I have a passion for the community. If you go, now that you all have my names, I'm sure the next best thing you're going to do is Google me. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because there's nothing that I hide. I'm an open book. I'm completely transparent. If I mess up, I'm going to tell you I messed up. If my agency messes up, I'll tell you I messed up. Okay? If we do great, then the officers did great. And that's just how I operate. I take ownership as a person in the face who stands before you. Ultimately, and most important title that I have is I'm a husband and I'm a father. I've been married to my wife for 12 years, met her in Fayetteville. She's probably the one who's grounded me most in my life. And I have an 8-year-old boy, Andrew, who's back home in Fayetteville because he has school, and that will be leaving first thing in the morning to go to a Christmas party at his school. And you'll see me, and every once in a while, if you get to know me, or as you get to know me, you'll notice I wear kind of crazy socks. That's just who I am. I wear crazy socks, but my son buys me the socks. So I'll tell you a little story about my son. So on the first day of kindergarten, I was at a seminar, I was speaking, and he said to me, Dad, I'll wear my socks if you wear your socks. He bought me matching socks. I said, no problem. I can't be there for your first day of kindergarten. And so I wore my matching socks. He wore his matching socks, and that connected us that day. I can guarantee you he'll ask me tonight when I go back, after he says how to go, he'll say, did you wear your socks? And I'll say, yeah, I wore your socks. that's who I am, and that's what I am. As a police chief, I can't do it alone. I'll be the some might say pretty face, but I'll be the face at the podium. I don't mind being that person who everybody looks to. But it's your city. You know better than I do what you need. I'm coming from Fayetteville. I'm a clean slate. So I have to sit down with everybody in this room. That's why it's impressive that we have people standing in the doorways and we have little kids outside trying to figure out how to make big bird rings and stuff like that. And I think it's awesome. Because my passion is kids. My wife runs a preschool ministry and is the family ministry coordinator at our church back home. But my passion is kids because I believe if we're not willing to reach that next generation that somebody else is, and if we're not willing to sacrifice for the kids that somebody else is. So I'll tell you this, Asheville, you deserve a new chief every year. Ms. Deborah Campbell doesn't want to hear that, but that's the truth of it, because as a leader, I learn every day. And I learn from my mistakes and I move forward. I believe that I wake up every day with a passion to do my job to create a platform that allows people to excel, even in the face of failure. And if you fail, we fail forward. But if you succeed, and we will, then you have to bring somebody else with you. So ultimately, I'm not a politician. I'm just a cop who really loves what he does, and is passionate about what he does, and is passionate about the people he works with, and is passionate about the people he works for. So that's just me in a nutshell. They told me to take 5 minutes. This is me. I speak from the heart. There's nothing prepared. I will just answer your question. So I'll open the floor to whomever wishes to now. Yes, sir.
Yes, Scott on with Asheville at the news. Are you familiar with the Hickman Rush incident?
So are you talking about the incident a couple years ago involving the video and the taser and all that incident, the jaywalking?
Well, that was a man crossing the street, yeah. What are your views on that?
So you will learn very quickly that I'm an open book. I will follow North Carolina law that I'm supposed to follow and what I can't follow. I also believe in accountability, though. And I believe in accountability for me because you should hold me accountable. But I believe in accountability throughout the ranks in the department because we set policies and practices. Because the citizens of Asheville, just like the citizens of Fayetteville, just like anybody else in this country, deserves to be treated equitably and equal. So my opinion, I would have handled the situation differently, but I don't know all the facts because I'm not privy to the entire investigation. But what I do know, I just would have been a little bit more transparent in the process.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, Ms. Campbell asked that we ask questions.
Sure.
As a citizen, I think I need to tell you what I'm expecting.
Absolutely.
two priorities should be, when you come here, is convincing the black community that you will enforce the laws equitably. Second, and that's the rest of it, is that you will enforce the law, because that's not being done in Asheville.
Okay, so here's what I will tell you. Trust is like a relationship. It can happen 7 days or 7 years, but somewhere along that line, we have to trust each other. I'm going to leave this room in probably 10, 15 minutes. You're not going to trust me. That's just the nature of it. You're not going to trust me. Let's face it, I'm just another talking head in front of the room. So my actions, my consistency, and my intentional actions as to what I talk about and what I do and how I carry it out, that gains your trust. Doesn't matter black, white, Spanish, or whatever. Actually, I thought it's amazing that you guys have translators up here. Doesn't matter that, because it's earning the trust of the community that solves problems. When the community trusts you, whether you're white, black, or Spanish, or whatever, gender, race, doesn't matter. If you trust the police department, the rest of the stuff works its way out. And so, what I would venture to say is yes and yes, but that's our responsibility. It's not just mine. It's a trust thing for everybody within the city. And so we have to figure that out. And I have to figure out what that relationship is. Yes, ma'am.
I'd be interested in hearing how you define community policing, what the essential components are, and how you would go about in a department that has had at some level, some resistance to implementing your vision of community policing.
So, community policing is kind of a really, it's a term that's been thrown around a lot. Community policing means different things to different people. And so what I would tell you is community policing at its core is a partnership between the police department and the citizens they work for. And that's it. That's essentially it. It's a partnership. I listened today to Chief White talk about accountability and looking at crime and resources and going to West Asheville and having conversations and saying, what do you as a community need from the police department? And that's community policing. It's allowing my friend here to have a seat at the table, this young lady, everybody to say, this is what we need. We do a really bad job in the profession of policing. We like to go into neighborhoods and say, this is what you need because this is what we think you need. The truth of the matter is, I don't know what the young lady next to me needs. I don't even know her name yet. And Clarissa, I don't know what Clarissa needs. I don't know what Clarissa needs because we haven't had that conversation. We haven't been able to build that trust or build that relationship to say, what do you need? What do you need to succeed? And that's essentially community policing. It's a really novel idea. And really it's not community policing, it's just being a community. And we're just another cog in that community. Ms. Deborah Campbell and I have talked about at length that a lot of issues, the police department comes in to be the easy button. We get called for a lot of stuff. And we believe in a holistic approach to policing, a holistic approach to city government. We believe that everybody has their role. So when you ask what is community policing, we can talk all day about that. But my vision is that we in Asheville will be a safer community through partnerships. And that should be our vision for the entire department. There's not a whole lot more else other than that. Safe communities, because that's our responsibility. Partnerships, whether that's internally, externally, in the city, in the county, whatever it might be, that's our role, is to build those relationships. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Novak. Is that right?
James is fine. James is fine.
Thank you, James.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm seated next to the leader of the Fraternal Order of Police, Mr. Rondell Lance.
Yep.
Mr. Lance and I am chair of the NAACP Criminal Justice Reform Committee.
Okay.
Sometimes we have divergent views, but we are respectful.
Absolutely.
I hope so. So, in short, did you work under Chief Metlock in Fayetteville? Is that written consent? Since we brought written consent to the city of Asheville and the Asheville City Council passed it unanimously, can you tell me, based upon what Chief R.C. White is doing with training, what those next steps are with inculcating those forces with Fourth Amendment rights, number one, and number two, in invoking and implementing written consent? And the second part of the question is, we've had a force that operated in silos. My question is with Deborah Campbell as the manager and the leader and the implementer of city council policies, will you, under the span of control, and you've been in the military and the chain of command, execute what you're asked to execute based upon what Manager Campbell has been directed to do because of the policies that city council has made and that they have given her to implement? And I'm sorry for those questions, but
That's okay.
I'm curious to know because I'm a boss myself and I deal with me, and sometimes it becomes a problem. So I want to know, and I want to be very upfront and direct.
So I appreciate your upfrontness and your directness.
Yes.
So I'm going to answer the various questions. Yes, I worked for Chief Medlock. I was his executive officer when he was in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I worked under him directly for a year. For those who don't know, he came from Charlotte. He was a deputy chief in Charlotte, and then he came to Fayetteville. When he came to Fayetteville, one of the first things he implemented, based on council's directives, was written consent searches. So I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm a bit of a nerd. I like to read a lot. I like data. I'm a data nerd, and I'm okay with that because I'm 44 years old and I can care less whether somebody calls me a nerd or not. So at the end of the day, I'm a data nerd. The truth of the matter is, if you look at the data for traffic stops right now, traffic stop searches in the city of Fayetteville, and I'll speak on Fayetteville specifically. Prior to written consent, we had 80% searches were under consensual, 20% were probable cause based. The next year it went flip-flopped. And it is down to a point where it's 7% consensual and 90% probable cause based, which to me as a leader in a police agency means that you're building better cases based on the evidence in which you see at the scene versus what you're trying to find in a vehicle. So you say to me, am I going to carry out what Ms. Deborah Campbell asked me? That's my boss. Yes, that's what I do. That's why I'm hired. She's my boss. So we like to call her the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of the city. Truth of the matter is she's the Chief Vision Officer of the city. She actually holds the vision of where we're going and what we're moving forward. I don't care what happened yesterday. I don't care what happened 2 months ago. She's the Chief Vision Officer. My role in the police department is to carry out her vision and my portion of what that means within the police department. So yeah, that's it may have been direct, but that's an easy question for me. I hope I answered them all.
Yeah, I'll see you if you're here. Okay.
Oh, hey, we'll have lunch. We'll have lunch. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I was just wondering, you have a master's of public administration.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see yourself more as an administrator or are you hands-on, get out in the field, meet the people, know the people, and get to know the communities?
Yes.
Well, now, you just spent an hour right there. You gotta give me more than that.
So yes, my master's degree is in public administration from the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. So yes, there's many hats that you wear as a chief of police. I've already spoke. The most important hat that I wear is as a father and as a husband. But yes, there are times that I will be an administrator, that I will be at all the city council meetings, that I will be at all the community meetings, that sort of deal. There are times when I will be an executive and I have to make executive decisions and stand up and be a big boy. That's what I get paid the big money for, is to make those hard decisions. And yes, there are times when I'm a coworker where I don't mind stopping a car, I don't mind going out to a call, I don't mind doing. At the core, I still love police work. I still love police work. I just have an 8-year-old redhead that's got to get through college. So I actually have my personal drive far exceeds. Listen, there's nobody who's going to outwork me. There's nobody who's going to outwork me. My wife says I'm addicted to it. I am. I love policing, but I love leadership, both in the formal and the informal sense. And the truth of the matter is that needs to be pushed down through the ranks to the lowest, and it needs to be an empowerment to the community to be able to come forward and say, this is what we need. And we as an organization need to provide what we can, when we can. That's my role. That's what I get paid money for.
And we've got 5 more minutes.
You had your hand up, sir. Sorry, and I'll come to you right afterwards.
Yeah, you had stated that community policing is different to each individual.
Yes, sir.
So you have any specific plans that you have in mind that you would like to implement to create an environment of community policing? And do you have any specific plans to foster a better relationship
Yeah, so community policing goes back to what the gentleman here said. It's a lot of trust. It's a lot of trust building. It's a lot of being consistent. If you have a leader who's inconsistent with their message, then the level of trust is dramatically goes down. It's a level of consistency. You're asking me for a complete plan. I won't know that. You and I have to have a conversation. I have to go to where we have concerns, or where we have issues, or where we need to have those conversations, and sit down and have it. Community meetings are great. Dinner's wonderful. I'm a foodie. I love to eat. I don't mind eating lunch with my friend here from the NAACP. I don't mind eating breakfast. I don't mind doing this. I don't mind going to where you are instead of making you come to where I am. I would rather go. Maybe I'll pay. No, I don't mind. But I don't mind going to where people have concerns. Before I was an assistant chief, I oversaw 400 people and patrol and investigations for the city of Fayetteville. I was a district commander. I had 154 community watch groups. We were expected under Chief Medlock to go to all of them as a captain and as a lieutenant. I've sat at the basements of churches and talked about trash cans not being pulled up, and I've done next of kin notifications to people who've been involved in traffic accidents and fatalities. I've seen the best and the worst that people have to offer. At the end of the day, I have to go to you. I can't expect you to come to me, and I have to be able to bridge that gap. That's my role. That's my passion. That's what I love. So that when you ask how do I build that relationship, that's it right there. What is community policing? That is it right there. When you need something, you should be able to call me. You should be able to call me. Yes, sir.
First, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Big Brother.
Okay.
One of the Marines is out there training y'all.
Okay.
12 years sergeant title.
Okay.
And I was actually last year's Buncombe County Sheriff candidate.
Okay.
Just as our own statement, it takes sergeants to train sergeants and gunnies to train gunnies.
Okay.
So as far as the 1 year thing, for the decade that we had Chief Anarang, we didn't have these issues. It's been everything since.
Mm-hmm.
However, since then there has been, and I mean, bukus of political retaliation, federal felonies and stuff like that, including the tampering of last year's election.
Mm-hmm.
Came out of Madison County from Judge Larry Leak and John Huntington, two of the top Democrats.
Okay.
And it obviously tampered with those because I dropped 20 points every time.
Glad I'm not in a voting position.
With them stepping into our arena, and with them tampering with our election, that means something can be done about it here in Buncombe County. And I've been to every one of our elected officials and they're doing nothing.
Okay.
It takes a chief of police, a sheriff, congressional order or a Senate order, somebody like that, or somebody on the major level to investigate anything with an elected official.
Okay.
Are you gonna hold the elected officials accountable?
So, are you asking me if I'm going to hold them accountable to
We've got hard proof.
past?
We've got hard proof showing they tampered with the election.
Then that would be an investigation that I would have to look at. I can't give you an answer right now and say absolutely yes or absolutely no. It's something that I would have to look at. If that's a complaint and you're a citizen of Asheville and the crime happened in Asheville, I have no problem taking a look at it.
I went to all your training command, so far nothing.
They're not mine yet.
So I'm coming from a community where the motto was protect and serve. I've been in Asheville for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
In my 1 year of being here, I can share with you what I hear in the range of the community.
Okay.
Is that there's no response. You see officers, I live in North Asheville, they sit in a parking lot 5 cars long and they're doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They're hanging out talking. In my community where I came from, officers have dinner in local restaurants. We walked in, we could say hi to them. And they were very involved in the community from gay pride to different things around community policing, senior officers that were assigned to different communities. So my specific question for you is, A, what have you gone through yourself around diversity and training, specifically around understanding the narrative that needs to change around the oppressive and privileged individuals that are, in essence, succumb to the system. And I'm very supportive of law enforcement. I'm very supportive of the role of police in our community. But we are at a tipping point where how we do our work needs to change. And there's a culture in the Asheville Police Department to maintain the former narrative that doesn't work for everybody. And there's resistance to changing that narrative. So I want to know what training you have specifically gone through to be prepared to address some of these issues of diversity and equity, and what are you going to do then to also train and create expectations of your officers?
So for the sake of timing for the dating game that's going on, I think I have a little bit less than a minute left. Have you ever been to Fayetteville, North Carolina? 5 years ago, we had a consent decree that said we couldn't stop cars because of the same thing that the young lady's talking about unjust policing and that sort of thing. We had a moratorium on traffic stuff. We had consent searches. We sat there and fought for it, against it, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, it goes back to treating people as people. I can tell you, I've done all the bias and unbiased training. I've done all the T3 training. I've done the right training. I've been part of. I reviewed the EPIC training that we just went through, peer intervention. I've done all that. At the end of the day, if I treat you like a human, I'm treated like a human. I can tell you there's consistent leadership at the top of an organization because I've seen it happen. When Chief Medlock came in, they turned the agency around in less than 3 years. Will it happen tomorrow? No. It's a time period of consistency, and that's what I've been through. That's what I've experienced.
So, would you all join me in?
Sorry, that sounded a little kind of tricky questions, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So, our next candidate. It's the dating game now. Door number 2 will be out just shortly. And just a reminder, if we can, let's keep our questions as brief as possible. They will be around afterwards, and you're free to speak with them on a one-on-one basis. And so,
Could I ask, if people are gonna ask questions, could they stand up? It's really difficult.
you can't hear.
Yeah, that would be great.
And if not, I'll try to repeat the question. I'm waiting to see them come towards the door. Our next candidate is going to be Maurice Robinson, and here he comes. All right. Mr. Robinson, come on up. You know the format. 5-minute introduction and the rest of the time for questions. So, can you all join me?
Thank you, good evening. My name is Maurice Robinson, and I really want to thank you for coming out in this kind of weather. It got a little bit chilly, right yesterday. But currently, I'm a captain with the Cincinnati Police Department, and my current assignment is commander of the criminal investigation section. So I've got supervisory and investigative responsibility for the homicide unit, the personal crimes unit, the financial crimes unit, our victims advocate, all of the criminalist and the fugitive apprehension unit. Currently to date, and it's a serious responsibility, we have had 72 homicides and 3 officer-involved shootings. So we have a lot of work that we get done. My previous assignment that prepared me for this meeting as we speak now was I was commander in the planning section. And the planning section in the Cincinnati Police Department has responsibility for maintaining the department's policies and procedures and making sure that we are using best practices. One of the things that I'm most proud of is during my time as commander of the planning section, we had to do a major overhaul of our use of force policy because unfortunately, change happens when something doesn't go well. And we had an incident where one of our officers made a decision that was lawful, but it wasn't his best decision. We tased a 12-year-old girl for shoplifting. So we had to make a decision, do a major overhaul in our taser policy, and we've done that. It's been very successful. One of the other things that I did that I'm very proud of is that we wrote and managed a brand new policy for grant management and grant writing. And what that allows us to do is to bring funds into the department in a systematic fashion so we don't have to always rely on taxpayer dollars. And we're very proud of that. The assignment that I had prior to that was I was commander of the Special Investigations Section, which was Vice, Narcotics, and the Intel Unit. And our mandate at that point in time was to make sure that we were investigating and bringing to justice major drug trafficking organization offenders. We focus on a specific individual, work that plan, get that person off of the street. But we did that in collaboration with a number of other organizations. We had relationships with the FBI, DEA, ATF, and those relationships also worked toward allowing us to approach our gun violence. Our ATF relationship allowed us to integrate a system called NIBIN. And NIBIN is where we pick up shell casings at every shots fired run, and we begin to catalog those. So when we find a person over here that's got that gun, we've got a pretty good suspect for these other two shootings or homicides we were looking at. All those experiences as a captain are the things that made me decide that this was an opportunity that I wanted to try to take advantage of and to be here, because I believe I can make a difference. I am the beneficiary of change in the Cincinnati Police Department. I started when we had an incident, an unfortunate incident where there was a loss of life. And in 2001, one of our officers shot and killed an unarmed black man. That resulted in 4 days of rioting. I'm sorry, civil unrest. But it required us to make other changes. And our chief at the time, Tom Stryker, made a decision that we had to make significant changes. So the city of Cincinnati entered into a collaborative agreement with stakeholders to make changes on police practices, policies, training, recruitment, and hiring. And I stand here as a beneficiary of that. Because what we recognized was that we had to have diversity in how we delivered our police services, but we also had to diversify our department. But we recognized that diversity wasn't just by race and gender, it also had to be by diversity of thought. So we started hiring people with other life experiences, so not everyone was starting as a 21-year-old recruit. And that brought us a different set of solutions to policing. In addition to those changes, we implemented body-worn cameras, we implemented tasers. And while you think, well, what difference does that make? Well, it did a couple of things. We dramatically reduced the number of officer-involved shootings that we've had been involved in, and we also increased police officer safety because we were able to give officers other options. I know one of the things that we're dealing with here in Asheville is a written consent to search policy. Our experience with that consent to search policy combined with contact cards for when we meet people is that it does a couple of things. It protects the citizen's rights, it protects the officer against uninformed and improper complaints, but it also allows us as an agency to provide better oversight. So if we see a pattern that's of negative behavior, it allows us to correct the behavior. That's a win-win for everybody. Asheville, I have no doubt, has a wonderful police department. And this department has made great strides in changing the way it's policing based on recent events. My objective for being here is to provide that continued leadership so we can continue to work in partnership with all the stakeholders to make this a better police department. And that's about all I've got on that. Ready for questions? Yes, sir.
How about, we're gonna, I appreciate it, Tracy.
I just want to know about that 12-year-old girl was tased. Did y'all charge the officer?
Hold on. We're gonna let people who have not asked questions, ask questions, and then if there's time, we'll come back to that question.
Okay, I noticed that you have a master's in criminal justice as well as a bachelor in education.
Yes.
What is your experience, if any, in dealing with the school system, with children with behavior problems, specifically those who are diagnosed with BEH, behavior emotional handicap, or opposition or defiant disorder?
Our department, one of the things, remember I talked about our grant writing effort? One of the things that our department did is we started a program for children that had potentially a bad trajectory called City Camp. And it was designed to provide them with some hope and some guidance and some direction and some discipline and some education and some love to show them that there are better ways you can, that there are a lot of people that care, not just your parents, not just your community, but also police. Additionally, part of our traditional training within the police department is dealing with emotionally disturbed people. So we get all of our recruits go through it, and we have an annual refresher. So So that's ingrained into how we police. And by design, we're taking a different approach, and we're able to recognize those differences and move differently.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I want to know, why do you think people commit crimes?
That's a big one.
Could you repeat the question?
The question was, why do we believe people commit crime? In some cases, I believe for some people it is a lack of opportunity. One of the things you've seen in my background is that I'm an educator, and I firmly believe in a solid educational foundation. And that provides you with a whole lot of opportunities to excel and be contributing members of our society. So when people feel that they are hopeless, and they don't have the support system that a lot of us have been beneficiaries of, where we had parents that sat down with us, made sure we got our homework, made sure we had something to eat, made sure we had clothes to wear, and made sure we went to school. So we got our educations. There are a lot of families that don't have that. So we, as a whole, have to find ways to incorporate all the resources we have outside of policing. I've had a number of occasions where I was dispatched to a run because somebody wouldn't go to school. Now, 911 is the focal point and the funnel for a lot of police services. But what we have to recognize is not everything is a situation where we need to arrest someone, but we need to all be community resources. If I can go in my pocket and come up with, that's not a police problem, but here's a number I think that will help fix this problem. We have to be able to do that. We have to reclaim our place as guardians in society. I think that's why we all became police officers in the first place, to help people. That's a guardianship mentality that I feel very strongly about. Yes, sir.
Yes, I really appreciate a lot of the comments you're making about the change.
Hold on. I think you had asked a question earlier. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to
Oh,
people
all right.
who haven't had the opportunity to ask a question. So, yes, ma'am.
First off, I want to say that, Asheville is very unique. It's very culturally different.
So I've been told.
Very different kind of people. Are you strong enough to actually handle all of the diversity that you're going to find in this town? Not just a yes answer, but you're going to find it.
Yes, and the reason is policing is not the only thing that I've done. I've been a teacher. I've sold life insurance. I spent 12, 15 years with IBM and AT&T selling services. So I've been in positions for the majority of my adult life where I needed to be able to communicate with people and understand differences. Additionally, where I'm growing up in policing, Cincinnati is a neighborhood of 52 disparate neighborhoods. Everybody has some commonalities, but they have their own unique set of requirements and interests. So our department, my upbringing in policing, has been one where in Northside you've got one set of issues, in Clifton you've got a university demographic, in Overland Rhine you've got a minority demographic that is being changed by gentrification. In Walnut Hills you've got another middle class. So all those things are familiar to me because we're 52 neighborhoods.
And I think there was a hand.
How are you gonna have the community trust you?
I have to continue to do things that extend trust, to show that we care. We have to work and do the police work for those things that are involving violations of law. But the other thing we have to make sure that we do is, that I have to do, is to be an advocate for the community and an advocate for the police. Because there's some wonderful police officers here. And I have to make sure that the work that they're doing is known and appreciated by the community. And I have to make sure that those desires and needs of the community are understood by the officers, so the solution that we put in place fix the problem. What I want to make sure that happens is that when you call 911, you're glad we came, not sorry we showed up.
If you're hired in Asheville, will this be your first time moving into a new command?
Yes, this will be my first time as the chief of police.
First time. All right, Asheville is kind of peculiar.
You gotta ask a question.
It has been, okay, it's been a long time. So you're in the department, you're hired, and you're in the police department. You're over all of the troops there, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a position wherein there's some rebellion among the rank and file underneath you. So much so until it's prohibiting the plans that you're attempting to put in place. What action do you take then?
One of the first things that I have to do is be sure that I articulate the message of what we're trying to accomplish. But it's not just my message. That message will also be with the deputy chiefs and the captains and lieutenants. So we are all talking along the same lines. We're selling that message, and that message is guardianship. And I'm not yielding on that.
So if there are people in the department who decide they want to go along with that message,
Then we'll use the resources within the department to perhaps help them find another career if that's the case. That's what you do. You train, you modify behaviors, but that's what we do. We modify behavior.
And there are seats up here for those of you who are standing if you'd like to sit. There's plenty of seats up here.
Yes.
So my question, you spoke to earlier about behavioral issues in the school system, but I'm specifically wanting to you can speak to where you find yourself, like even in my education background, criminal justice background, where do you find yourself with the school system, like there is an actual schools where we have the worst achievement gap in the country, where most of what's happening, if not all of what's happening, is that black students and Latinx students are being unlawfully arrested with police. And there are laws in place that will have students placed in the criminal justice system or with something on their record, whether or not they were at fault. And the police and the criminal justice system is right now in a position where it seems like there's some accountability, but also some communication that's happening with how they're doing things that's impacting the future of our students. And so I'm curious if you can speak to not just what happens when there are behavioral issues, but what happens when students are being policed, where their education and teachers are being impacted, and we as a community are asking for some accountability on how students are being treated in the school system behind closed doors, and how do you find your place in the educational equity and reform that is happening?
I understand the question. I don't have an immediate answer. But my first thought is, first of all, I'd like you to understand that I did take a look at the educational achievements, and my concern right now is that demographic between, I think, 5th graders and 8th graders, where even in Asheville, that student achievement has fallen behind even the state level. But what it would require me to do is to get to know the school system and work with those officials to find out what the police can do to help. There are different programs that the police can do it, and we can't expect the school system to do policing, and you can't expect the police to do education. But we can work in a complementary fashion to develop different programs that will assist in that. But it absolutely requires some more study on my part, because I'm not that familiar with the infrastructure and the administration to find out what they're even open to. But what I do believe is we should all be able to work collaboratively, because we all benefit. When people are undereducated and underemployed, that's when we have problems.
We've got about 4 more minutes with this candidate. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 questions. One, when you researched this job, I'm sure you saw the uniqueness of this community. My question is, are there policies you would implement to help us on the police, coming into the city? Is there anything you'd like to change?
Before I change anything, I need to do a whole lot of talking to people, because I need to understand what the problems are. I need to understand what we put in place already. We need to find out what has worked and what hasn't worked. Because at the end of the day, what I want to be able to say is, does that feel like help to you? That's what I have to be able to do. That's what my officers have to be able to do. Because one of the things that I've discovered and that we know is, to the extent that we have solutions that are collaborative, that provides for a safer environment for our officers as well. because we have to get to know people. We cannot continue to patrol at 35 miles an hour. You can't build relationships that way. People don't trust people they don't know. We have to talk to people. Did I answer your question?
You did.
Back here, can you stand please?
You mentioned police officer recruitment a little bit earlier.
Yes.
What's the strategy for police officer retention so that we do keep some of the good officers in this community that otherwise might not be able to stay here, so that we can actually kind of build some of that trust with the force that's been policing this area for more than
I will tell you, Maurice, can you
Yes.
repeat the question because the people will.
The question was about officer retention and career paths, I believe, and recruitment. I've had a chance to take a look at the recruitment strategy. I think it's fairly solid. But once again, I need to get inside to be able to take a look at it to find out what's effective and what has not been effective. From a retention perspective, what I understand is officers have to feel like that there is an upward career path. I'm going to tell you the same thing that I told the manager. My objective is in 5 years that your next police chief should come from inside the department. Because the job that we have done is mentoring and leadership and education so that your next police chief wants to be able to stay around and your next police chief can come from here. Did I answer your question?
We've got 1 minute, and did you have a question?
You spoke so much about all the initiatives, whether it's education, community development. Could you share with us how you connected with anyone in public health, or clinic, or behavioral health? That's something that's very key in our community where we're talking about social determinants. And so would appreciate to hear with you, how do you see law enforcement as a part of the community health puzzle?
One of the first things we have to do is be trained in how to deal with people in a mental crisis, in a mental health crisis. I've noticed, and there's a good initiative for dealing with homelessness, but homelessness has a lot of flavors and shades and colors to it. It can be because of unemployment. It could be because of addiction. It could be because of mental health. It could be because of underemployment. So as soon as I get here, there's a lot of going around, I'm wearing a lot of shoe leather, trying to find out how to bring as much collaboration as we can to those solutions, because there are a lot of things we can't arrest our way out of. Being homeless should not be a crime. Disorder is, but being homeless should not be a crime.
All righty, so let's thank all right, so our final candidates. Just allow for just a little bit of Our final candidate is David Zach. And I apologize for those of you who want to ask multiple questions, but I really want to give the opportunity for those who haven't asked a question to be able to ask a question. So Mr. Zach is on his way. And again, there are chairs up front if anyone wants to take a seat. Come on in. David. So you are welcome. You can give like a 5-minute intro of yourself, and then we're going to take questions. You can get the podium, or you can, I know you like to move around.
I'm a jumpy guy.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I'm assuming you all have my bio. And does anyone actually having trouble pronouncing where I'm from? Yeah, that's usually it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
It's New York, isn't it?
It's New York. Yeah, that's the easy part. The hard part is cheek to walk.
Cheek to walk.
Cheek to walk. No one can say it unless you're looking at the paper. You won't be able to repeat it. Where Cheektowaga is, we are a first-ring suburb of the city of Buffalo. So I'm from the land of snow and ice, and apparently I brought it with me. So common thing. I've been with the town for 33 years. The last 9 as chief of police. Our community is got a lot of similarities with yours here in Asheville, population-wise. We are at about 88,000, or 92,000 here. We're 30 square miles, very condensed. You guys are a little bit more spread out, 40 square miles. Another similarity is our nighttime population is nothing like our daytime population. Your daytime population here doubles. In the town of Cheektowaga, it triples. We're at roughly 250,000 persons per day who pass through our town. That's because we're the transportation hub of Erie County, New York. Actually, if you flew into Buffalo, you're actually flying into the town of Cheektowaga. Rail station, all the major highways, but we're also the largest retail region through half the state. We have a very large mall and a very large retail corridor that is actually, we're a stone's throw from Canada. So we get just 20 million people a year just go to that mall alone, never mind everything else that surrounds the region. So that's where I'm from. I've had the very good fortune in the short time that I've been here to meet the two other candidates who are up for this position. I would just like to say your city manager, your search team has done an excellent job because those guys are solid. Those are good law enforcement professionals, bright guys, very accomplished. But enough about them. Let's talk about me. And what I think I could bring to the city of Asheville. One, stability. 33 years in the business, 9 years as a chief of police. In the chief business, and I think you got a little experience with this here in Asheville, we don't normally last that long. For me, it's been 9 years. Experience, you can be the best lieutenant, you can be the best captain, you can be the best division commander. Nothing prepares you for the hot seat. The hot seat, it's hot for a reason. And I've seen many well-qualified people just wilt under the pressure. There is no such thing as school to be chief. The day your name goes on the stationery, it starts. And you have to be ready for it. 9 years as chief, those first 3 or 4 years, I can tell you I made a lot of mistakes. I'd like a lot of do-overs. I'd like a second crack at doing a lot of things. But it doesn't work that way. So you gotta work through it. You can't work under the pressure. You gotta stick with it. You gotta learn from the mistakes. So I have the experience doing that. I've been doing it for a long time. And finally, I think what I can bring is proven success. I met with a lot of the rank and file yesterday, and one of the things they said to me was, Chief, have you Googled Asheville Police Department?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. They said, you still want to come here? And I said, yes, I do. Yes, I do. And the fact of the matter is, the town of Cheektowaga Police Department, if you Google that today, it's going to be generally positive. But Google racism in Cheektowaga Police Department, the hits are going to be totally different. We were in a far darker place for a far longer period than the Asheville Police Department. And we came back with it. If you read the Buffalo News editorial page, they will call the Cheektowaga Police Department the leader of the pack today. If you talk to city leaders in the city of Buffalo, they will tell you that the Cheektowaga Police Department is the model in Western New York for what police community relations look like. In 2001, we had 300 protesters on our steps of Town Hall saying that all minorities should boycott every business in the town of Cheektowaga. 13 years later, the people who led the protest now call us the That's our company. We're well known in New York State, but we are one of just a hidden secret in law enforcement in the United States. What we've been able to accomplish there. We're very proud of it. The work goes on every single day, and it's a good story, and I'd like to tell you more about it, but I know we got limited time, and I'm thinking there might be a question or two.
It sounds like you're engaged in a little community policing. So would you give me your definition of that and state what may have been some of your best practices?
Okay, good. I like that question because my answer is a little bit different. And I'll try and get to it very, very quick. A lot of people think community policing is about programs, because that's how it was always introduced. It's about programs. And the problem when it's introduced as a program is within the agency, that becomes defined as a specialty. And what the rank and file think is community policing is what they do over in that office over there. But community policing, okay, every officer, a community police officer. We started a motto back when I first became chief. We didn't have one on the side of the police car. You know, protect and serve like LAPD. Our motto became excellence matters. And what excellence matters means is every single contact that we have, whether it's when you call on the phone, whether you walk into station, whether you're a victim of crime, whether you're a suspect in crime, whether you've been arrested for a crime, witness, suspect, whatever, you are treated with dignity and respect. Everything we do, every traffic stop must be perfect. Every form must be filed perfectly. And when you make a mistake, you're corrected. And those one-on-one individual encounters, especially on a traffic stop, that's community policing. When everybody follows that doctrine. And you touch more people that way than any program possibly could. And that's what you have to instill in your rank and file, that excellence matters. Community policing is not a program. It's not what they do down the hall. It's what you do every single encounter that you have, each and every tour of duty, day in.
Hello. My question is absolutely simple. What is the population of minorities or people of color in Cheektowaga?
Our demographic is very similar. I think we're at about 16% minority. 2010 census, we were about 6%, but it's grown considerably over the last 10 years, over the last 7 years.
So about 16%. You got a population of about 88,000.
Right.
And so you're looking at about 16%.
Yes. I think that's pretty much similar to your demographic.
All right. Any other questions?
You're currently police chief in
Cheektowaga. Yeah.
Why move here? Why live where you are move here?
56 years of Buffalo winters. I don't like Florida. But the truth of the matter is, I did 33 years in the same agency one time. Actually, Asheville's been on my radar for about 5 or 6 years. I'm sure you guys remember the rumor when the Obamas were talking about retiring here. My daughter moved here like 5, 6 years ago. She moved to Boston, so I wanted to be closer to her. But then when I read that, I'm like, I gotta start checking this Asheville place out. It's good enough for them, it might be okay for me. And the reality was we've now been vacationing here for the last 5 years between here and Outer Banks. And I gotta be honest, I just dug the area. And I was thinking about retiring here, and the opportunity has come up where I can work and then eventually settle here permanently. So I'm not some carpetbagger from New York. I intend to make Asheville my home if this, this was, I was gonna give it a try moving here. I thought it would be a little bit later in life, because I plan on working. I still got a little jump in my step. The job hasn't totally beat me down yet, but I figured 5 or 6 years I was making the move either way. So that's how you got on my radar. Sure.
Can you share with us your experiences, both your successes and your challenges with bias policing in your department? And what would you do if you came to Asheville and you found that we had bias policing here in Asheville?
What would I do? It's kind of a broad question. So again, what we've done in Cheektowaga is totally rework the state of mind of you officers, which is not as hard as you think it is when you're leading in a certain direction and you instill an officer. What we do, it's a long story. There's multiple facets to it, but it's really that changing that state of mind. You know, we have the Canadians, our northern neighbors, and they don't call it the police department, they call it police service. They have a totally different mindset on how they view the profession and how they do the job. So we've kind of mimicked that concept and move away from just, it's not just about enforcement. And you de-emphasize enforcement. You know, when you start keeping all sorts of enforcement stats, officers are going to want to meet the stats. That's going to create a lot of difficulty for you. So you've got to change the mindset more into that service orientation, but when you seek promotion, all right? And what the chief does, the chief sets the budget. What's the chief's priority in the budget? Is it a SWAT team truck? Or does the chief invest in training and de-escalation? When you go to interview someone for promotion, do you ask them how many arrests they've made? Or do you ask them what kind of volunteer they work with? Do they do in the community? And all of a sudden, you start to see the rank and file see what's important and what they're being evaluated on. And suddenly, rapidly, you see a mind shift as this is what the department is emphasizing. This is what's important. Now you get your trouble. The thing is, everyone knows who they are. Everyone. But you have to have the officers, you have to have their supervision, especially their first line supervision, be held accountable. So what happens in our department? The day I became chief, we all know who they are. For what they do, you will be held accountable. You will report. You will self-report. If you don't, there's a mechanism to either rehabilitate your mind or you will be on your way. And the message comes out pretty quick.
You know, we've got special units to deal with the most horrific scene possible. You know, SWAT team, lots of guns, flash bombs, and all that kind of stuff. Could we have a special unit for just, you know, property crimes and, you know, when all I really need is for an officer with a pen and you know, so we have more interaction with law enforcement that doesn't have such a soldier mentality. Like, I got a neighbor who's got a big semi-tractor trailer on a piece of property next to her house. She's 93 years old. It gets tagged with graffiti all the time. I saw one day, you know, 2 officers there, 2 vehicles, you know, flak jacket, you know, the body armor, guns, and all of that kind of stuff. And it seems so unnecessary that we need to respond to all of these things all the time that way.
That's their equipment. That's the way they're outfitted. Don't forget, the officer who shows up geared up like that to take that report is also the officer who's going to drop the pen when the call comes through the radio that shots are being fired at the school, and they have to be prepared.
Well, there's a lot of, you know, like property down. I mean, it seems like you could put together a training program where, like, you know, the cadets who are coming into the community, who are going to be in those hot situations, as just an officer, maybe this would be a way to, you know, ease into the community?
You know what else helps? Is when they're there and they see you standing across the street watching this all go down, is before they leave, walk over and say hello.
Oh, yeah, I did, for sure.
And that kind of mindset is contagious. And that puts you at ease, that makes you understand them a little better. They realize they're making you nervous. Just a little bit of human interaction. That goes a long, long way. But they're still gonna carry a gun. And they're still gonna wear a vest. You know, because you don't know where they're going next. You don't know where their next call's gonna go.
We've got 4 minutes now, and we've got a question over here.
During your time in New York, did you make any changes and improvements in
Yeah, we've been a leader there. We were the first.
Can you repeat the question?
She asked me what we've done with steps that we've taken to improve our response to domestic violence. We had a separate unit, but we were the first in our county. This goes back even predated me, where we had domestic violence advocates embedded right in with the police departments. Not only they wouldn't go to the initial call, but they would be a part of all the follow-up that came after, whether there was an arrest or whatever you have, navigating the victim through the court system, explaining the steps that would be taken, and just making the process smoother. We were the first person beyond full-time from that in our area. It's worked really well. And now we've actually moved into, we're the first in our county as well to hire a behavioral health specialist to deal specifically with overdose, opioids, and mental health issues. She started in August. She's already had 100 contacts, where each overdose, each mental health call that we go on, there's follow-up from a detective and the advocate. Again, making services available, aware of services, continual follow-up, trying to make this happen.
My question is, would you be willing to go against your fellow officers to do the right thing?
Done it. 9 years as chief, lost a lot of friends, fired my best friend.
Okay.
So I've got a long history of doing that. And that's when we talk about chief survival and how you're able to last. If you don't last 9 years, if you don't do that. It just doesn't happen.
Any other? We've got 1 minute, and before I go to folks who have their second round, that doesn't help you.
All right, I've got just a simple question. I've interacted with the Asheville Police Department and have asked for business cards. Our department doesn't issue business cards. Are you an advocate of a business card and accountability?
What I can tell you is all of our, usually the patrolmen, I mean, if they carry one, they carry one, but all of our detectives, things like that, supervision, all has business cards, so you can contact and follow up. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so, as I said, they will be around. Please don't attack them. No, they're not going to be around. They're not
I'm on my
gonna be
own.
around.
I'm on my own.
You
have to defend myself.
You are done. So thank you very much. So the next steps are we will be making a decision. Please, please, please fill out, if you have comments, fill out a card, let us know about the candidates. You can put them right